Without a doubt, my most favorite time of the year is December, or how most would refer to it, Christmas time. And while this time is pretty awesome on its own, with all the cookies, hot chocolate and festive decoration, most of us enjoy the mornings with opening a small door with a surprise on the inside, an advent calendar. And because LEGO probably loves the times just as much as we do, they have released a ton of Star Wars advent calendars over the years, and it all started in 2011, and since that we got a new advent calendar based on the galaxy far far away each year, with some of them being cooler and some of them not so much. As these calendars seem to sell pretty well, in 2025 LEGO of course released another one, and with that, welcome to my review of set number 75418 LEGO Star Wars Advent Calendar 2025. This quote-unquote set retails for roughly $45 and 35 euros and comes with 263 pieces and a bunch of minifigures. The exact number depends on what you count as a minifigure for yourself, but more on that later in the video. As I'm of course gonna open the whole advent calendar in this video, this is a spoiler warning for every one of you who wants to open this calendar without knowing what's inside. Please click off this video so you're not getting spoiled, but now let's take a closer look at the box art, and I do have to say I really like it. This year this is the first time that LEGO gave this calendar a sort of overall theme, and this year it is a Droid Workshop theme, which is also why the inside looks fairly familiar to a Christmas decorated Babu Frick's Droid Workshop from episode 9 in Kijimi, which I do believe it is supposed to represent. On the backside this guess is more reinforced, with the stairs and everything else looking even more like a Kijimi, so you could say in a way the set is based on the Rise of Skywalker. However, I like the whole festive design with all the Christmas deco and snowy vibe, it really sets the mood for this time of the year. But now let's start with door number 1, and on the inside we already get the first minifigure, and this is Babu Frick. As this whole set is based on his Droid Workshop, we of course needed him. This is the very first time that we get a totally new molded character in an advent calendar, and his first appearance in a LEGO set as well. He is quite small, but I still managed to include a lot of details due to the dual molded parts and also the super detailed face and body printing. Overall probably the highlight of this calendar, and it is awesome that we already get him on day 1. On day 2 we get the first build for this year, and it is this. It seems like this year we won't be getting any micro builds of Star Wars ships, as this appears to be a workbench for the Droid Workshop. Some parts and a control panel on the left, then this weird structure with the transclip part where you can add Babu Frick, and a yellow cup for him to drink from. On the left side there is a hinge brick, which seems like is put there with intention for later on connection with other builds, but let's wait and see. Overall it doesn't really look like something a LEGO designer designed, and rather like something I built with a bunch of leftover parts, but let's hope the other builds will be better from now going forward. On day 3 we get yet another minifigure, and this is Evil C-3PO from the Rise of Skywalker. This is basically the same figure as C-3PO from the Dark Millennium Falcon, the only difference is that they switched out his left arm, which was black, to a golden one. With the red eyes, I guess this is supposed to represent the sort of evil C-3PO with the Sith language from episode 9, which is of course fitting with the overall theme of this advent calendar. The rest of the C-3PO is pretty average. He has the standard printing on torso and legs, the arm printing is cool but also standard. Overall a neat inclusion, but nothing that I am majorly excited about. Day 4 is the first buildable character out of LEGO parts, and this is a pit droid. This is not the first time that we get this character as a buildable minifigure. We also had a Christmas themed one, but it is still nice to get another one here. You can move both of his arms, you can turn the torso left and right, the legs are adjustable as well, and you can also turn the head, which is some pretty good articulation for a buildable droid out of parts. Overall this is a really well built model, and I'm quite surprised. On day 5 we get another build for the Droid Workshop, and it is a chair. It is at least a little cooler than it sounds when you know the context, as this chair is included because of certain scenes in the Rise of Skywalker where Babu Frick has to work on C-3PO. You can move the backrest up and down, of course C-3PO can sit down, and then you can try to balance Babu Frick on the top of the backrest, as there is no stud or anything to connect him to, so this is quite a wobbly display and doesn't look that great. I get the inclusion of the chair, and it's not as boring as it sounds, but still, I think at least a stud on the backside could have improved this model a lot. Day 6 thankfully gives us a more exciting build, and this is a buildable droid, and of course they had to include a legendary Gonk droid. This Gonk droid is, I guess, Christmas themed. He at least has some deco all around with these blue and pink transclear parts, a broom on the right side and a spoon on the left side. If you know what exactly this is supposed to represent, please let me know down in the comments below, cause I have no clue. Overall it looks pretty solid, but we had some cooler Gonk droids and also some more Christmas themed ones, so this one is, yeah, okay I guess. On day 7 we get another droid, however this time it is something that I consider a real minifigure. R7A7 is Ahsoka Tano's astromech droid and originally appeared in set number 75401, Ahsoka's Jedi Interceptor. While I would have enjoyed it more to get Plo Koon's astromech droid, as they only included this poor dude's head in the microfighter, this is a solid inclusion. Nothing that gets me really excited, but at least we got some cool printing on his body and dome. The surprise on day 8 is a common enemy of Jedi's astromech droids, and it is a bus droid. It is of course a buildable droid, but still it didn't have to be this bad. The sword doubles as a stand, and as usual when LEGO Star Wars let something double as something else, this doesn't really work. It looks a little weird, his legs can't even touch the floor, and overall it's just not the best building technique, and in previous bus droids this looked way cooler with some actual saw pieces. The rest looks okay, at least from the front, and they also included the antenna for the first time, which is cool. Sadly they didn't print the dome like they did on previous bus droids, which destroys the whole look for me, and overall makes this build look pretty, mediocre. Continuing with mediocrity, Day 9 is probably the most creativity bankrupt build I've ever seen. It is simply a box or transport crate with 3 droid parts tossed in, and that's it. I get the idea behind this and it fits into this droid workshop theme, but as an advent calendar door, this is still really disappointing in my opinion, and if I were a kid, I would just be pretty disappointed and sad about this. Day 10 rolls around and we have another addition to the workbench for Babu Frick. You build this tools rack with a bunch of tools hanging, like a hammer, a crowbar, a wrench, and a thing that looks like an alternate lightsaber hilt, which I think is not the actual intention behind this piece. You have 2 of these hinge connections, hence why we can attach it to the first build, and now we extended the workbench area. I think this feature of having multiple builds connect to each other is pretty cool, but more on that later. On day 11 we get my favorite buildable droid from this calendar, and this is B2 EMO from Andor. We never got this cute little droid in any of the Andor sets, which we didn't get all too many of anyways, and to include this droid here is really cool. The building techniques create a very good looking representation, and pairing him with Cassian is super neat, and I'm very happy to get this droid for my Andor display. Halfway done, on day 12 we get a small droid, and it's another BD droid. In this case BD-72, who originally appeared in set number 75325, The Mandalorians and One Starfighter. It's always nice to get a BD droid because of the awesome model LEGO created for this droid model. It is quite small but packed with details and also some very lovely printing all around, so I'm pretty happy with this small guy being included in here. Already entering the second half, on day 13 there is the first vehicle, and it kind of looks like a modified sandcrawler transport vehicle type thing, which is definitely interesting. You can move those control sticks and there is a spot for a minifigure, otherwise it definitely looks a bit goofy, but maybe the context gets clearer later on. 2 weeks in on day 14 we have yet another build, and it seems to be an upgrade for the build of day 13. You get to build this little lifting crane which you can very easily attach to the transport vehicle, and now it is actually functionable. You can attach some droids onto the crane and move them around, which reminds me pretty heavily of an old LEGO Star Wars Tatooine battle pack, which included some Javas and droids. The crane is pretty stable and holds the position just fine, so building technique wise it is a very sturdy model. On day 15 we get the last and probably most important addition to the modified sandcrawler. It's of course a Java. He comes in handy with an ugly Christmas sweater which looks pretty cool. It is green, and on the front he has 2 BD droids and a Gonk droid, and on his back there are 2 BBs and an astromech droid. Otherwise it is just your standard LEGO Star Wars Java minifigure, but this is totally nothing as we just need a pilot for this little vehicle. You can't really reach the handles, but it still looks solid for what it is. I mean, it's just an advent calendar extra, so yeah, I'm okay with this. On day 16 we get yet another buildable droid, and this is once again someone from Tatooine, and it's also a pretty well built one. We usually got these Treadwell droids in sandcrawler sets, but this one is included in the advent calendar. He uses rollerblades as his actual wheels, the arms are fully rotatable, you can also turn the head, and overall he does look very good. The surprise of day 17 is a scrap battle droid, which is essentially just a normal B1, but this time with a grey arm and a backpack. The backpack is just a 1x2 plate, and I don't really know why they didn't use a tan colored one, but I guess it looks solid. The grey leather on top of the backpack finishes the whole look, and I guess it looks kind of solid. While this is a solid inclusion, I think it would have been way cooler if LEGO just included a Christmas themed B1 battle droid, maybe in red and white like a candy cane, or maybe in a Santa outfit with some presents and a nice hat and a beard. I don't know, but something like this would have been way more interesting. Another addition to the workbench area gets built on day 18, and here we got some paint jars at the bottom and 2 crates on top with some spare parts and a droid head. Of course, once again we have some hinge bricks on both sides, so you can simply add it to the other sections and expand Babu Frick's work area. On day 19 you get something that I think is crazy LEGO hadn't done sooner, because it seems pretty obvious. A holiday themed mouse droid. It's a super simple design and it looks like a small candy cane with antlers on top, but I think it's a cute inclusion, and while it's very simple it's still pretty cool. Already making our way into the 20s, day 20 brings us another separatist droid, and this is a B2 super battle droid. In my humble opinion you can never have too many B2s or B1s, so I won't complain about this inclusion. However, I think it is a little lame that we just got one in last year's advent calendar, and now we get the same droid here. Still a cool addition to the droid army and also fitting the overall theme. Day 21 brings us a probe droid, which is one of my personal favorite droids. This one however looks a little weird, but let's start at the front where you can see 3 eyes, one of which is red. On the backside there is sadly no eye, which once again looks a little weird and I don't know why. and you can also adjust all of them a little, but still it looks, yeah, weird. He comes with a trans-clear stand, which is neat, but he overall looks pretty flat and obviously can compete with other prop droids that LEGO gave us in sets. So I think a prop droid just needs more parts to look good, so this wasn't the best idea for an inclusion in the advent calendar. Day 22 is another billable droid, and this time it's a holiday medical droid. We often see these medical droids in the Echo Base or Vader's transformation, but this one is a holiday themed one. He is green and has a brown tree trunk, which obviously makes him look like a Christmas tree, even though he's missing some deco. Sadly, this is nowhere near as cool as the Christmas tree astromech droid we got in 2014, but it's still a neat idea and of course better than no Christmas tree. We're almost done, and on day 23 we get the last part of the workbench, and this includes a grey barrel with a red and black droid arm and also a shovel. After connecting the hinges we can see the workbench in its full glory. From certain angles it looks like a small train, and from other angles it looks like I built it with some spare parts, but otherwise I have to admit that I like the idea of building a bigger model over multiple days. And now the wait is finally over, it's Christmas time. Day 24 gives us a snowman BB-8 and probably the smallest Christmas tree that you can build with LEGO parts while still being able to tell what it is. A couple of years prior we already got a snowman astromech, and the BB-8 is pretty similar to that one. He has some nice printing and comes with a black hat, which looks pretty cool. The Christmas tree however is very small, and while I think it looks solid for its size, I would have preferred to get a bigger tree. Which you could say we did with the medical droid, but I don't know if that really counts for me. So now that we're finished, let's look at everything we got in the 2025 LEGO Star Wars Advent Calendar and decide whether or not it is worth the $45 price tag. So in total you get 8 actual minifigures that aren't built out of parts, which is a solid number. As expected you get some reused characters from other sets, but the highlight is of course the brand new Babu Frick, which has a totally new mold and printing. I could see them reusing him in future other sets, but I still think it's cool that he got introduced with this Advent Calendar. There are also 8 characters included that you build out of parts, so in total you get 16 characters in this advent calendar, which is quite a lot. From the 16 characters you get 5 Christmas themed ones, which is a solid number, but in my opinion they aren't as cool as previous holiday figures. Here are some examples from previous years that are amazing. The Christmas tree astromech droid and the Santa Vader are both from 2014 and look amazing. The snowy Chewbacca is also super cool, and not to forget the Christmas Ewok, which was a super cool inclusion in the 2023 advent calendar. Overall, I'm just missing some holiday figures that don't just wear an ugly Christmas sweater and call it a day, like the Santa figures, those very clearly distinguishable figures like the snowy Chewbacca or Ewok, and in general I'd say that LEGO could change the concept of the advent calendars. While I think the general concept of this year's set is great, with an overall droid workshop and that all small surprises fall into the same main concept and build something bigger, I'd love to see LEGO making a bigger build that is divided into 24 sections. Just imagine how cool it would be to build a Christmas diorama like the Millennium Falcon one over 24 days with some very cool Christmas minifigures. On the 24th of December you actually have a cool display and not just some figures and some builds that you toss in a bag. But these are just my personal thoughts on this topic. Overall, when I look at all the calendar contents from this year, I don't fully see the $45, but my main problem is not the price, more so the general concept of these calendars. But now of course feel free to let me know your thoughts about the set and if LEGO needs to change the advent calendars in the future. What was your favorite surprise in this year's set? Please tell me in the comments down below. Now I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I would very much appreciate a like to support the channel. If you're new, please consider subscribing, and if you want to check out some of my other videos, you can see them on screen right now.